Well, hello, and welcome to Week 8 of the NFL Contest Show. Week 7 was quite the bloodbath in the Circa Millions. The top 4 consensus picks all lost, and the Dead Money Media picks ended up going 2 and 3. So it wasn't a total nightmare, but can't have too many negative weeks like that in this contest if you expect to make the money. On the season, we're sitting at 22 and 13, tied for 300th place. So even though we had a tough week in week 7, we didn't lose too much ground because everybody in the contest seemed to struggle. The currently, I believe, first place is only 5 points ahead. So going into week 8, we're almost at the midpoint of the season, and we're within striking distance of the top 100. So we are right there, but we got to do better than 2 and 3 if I expect to make the money at the end of this season. So week 8, the sports books have really come down and said that they're starting to see a lot of parity in these games. And these teams are pretty evenly matched. We've got quite a few division games this week, and the sports books have put out these lines pretty tight. In the Circa Millions, there's 8 games that are at 3 points or under, and there's only 3 games that have a point spread of more than 1 score. So it's definitely going to be a tough task trying to find winners again this week, but I've gone through the games. I've picked out the 5 games that I like, so let's get into it and see what 5 games I've got for Week 8 of the NFL season. So the first game is the Minnesota Vikings, minus 3.5 at home, taking on the Arizona Cardinals. The Minnesota Vikings are coming off their bye week, and they're actually one of the most healthiest teams in the league. They really have not suffered too many injuries to their starting lineup on offense or defense. And I think that coming off the bye, they're going to be ready to play. Arizona, they played on Thursday night, so they had the mini bye. But playing on Thursday night is actually kind of detrimental because on that short week, you tend to get more injuries. And Arizona did not come out of that game unscathed. They lost quite a few players during the game, and they've got quite a few players on the injury report right now. So we don't even know who's going to be playing for them on Sunday. And now they've got to go across the country and take on the Minnesota Vikings in their stadium. And I still don't think that even after the points that Arizona put up against the Saints, I think that game is kind of misleading because the Saints outgained them by about 200 yards. They had, I think, about 7 or 8 yards per play, so they had them by about 3 yards a play. It was the 3 turnovers by Andy Dalton that did the Saints in. They gave them 14 points on 2 pick sixes and then another touchdown off of the 3rd interception. So that's 21 points that were given to the Cardinals, and they still only won by 8 points. So I still think the Cardinals are the team we saw before Thursday that struggles to score in the first half and then has to rely on Kyler Murray to make plays in the second half and the fourth quarter to try to get them back in the game. And I just don't think that's going to do much against this Minnesota Vikings team. Their defense is pretty good. They've got a good defensive front 4 that can keep Kyler Murray in the pocket and harass him and make him make mistakes. And I don't know if Arizona's defense is going to be able to keep up with this Minnesota Vikings passing offense, especially with their Coach O'Connell having plenty of time to scheme up a game plan to go against this Arizona defense. And I know it's over a field goal, but like we saw last week, favorites, if you think they're going to win, then you should think they're going to cover the spread. And I just think people are giving Arizona too much credit for what they did against the Saints on Thursday night. And they're kind of forgetting that the Minnesota Vikings are a 5-1 team for a reason. and the team that I picked to win the NFC North. So I have a lot of confidence in them. So for my first pick, give me the Minnesota Vikings minus 3.5. So the second game that I like piggybacks right off the first game, and that's the New Orleans Saints plus 1.5 at home taking on the Las Vegas Raiders. Again, the public perception from that Thursday night game, the Saints got blown out, but that's not really the case. They outgained Arizona in the pass or overall by about 200 yards, and they, if not for the 3 turnovers, they certainly could have won that game, and that score would have looked a lot different. And now they're at home. Vegas is getting a lot of love because they beat the Texans in an emotional game in Vegas last week. But that game was a lot closer than that final score would appear, and they suffered a lot of injuries in that game. And now Devontae Adams is coming up on the injury report as having a bad case of the flu. And if he's that sick and he's dehydrated, he may not be able to play, and that's a real blow to this Las Vegas offense. Josh Jacobs hasn't practiced yet because of the foot injury that he suffered last week. So they could be down quite a few of their key offensive players. And again, this Saints offense is pretty good in the passing department. I don't think Thomas is going to be back or Jarvis Landry, but they've shown that they can put up points without them with the guys that they have. Kamara's really been playing well. They've been using Hill in different packages, and I just like their opportunities here against this Vegas defense that, although they can get after the quarterback at times, their secondary is really weak, and I just don't know if they've got what it takes to win this game on the road. I just really like the Saints to bounce back from that Thursday night loss and get right. I don't know if Lattimore is going to be back, but Adebo should be. So they should have most of their defensive players from the defense that isn't as good as it was before, but they still do have good players. They can still rush the quarterback, and I just think they might expose this Vegas offensive line that has been, not really that great. They've had a couple of good games running the ball, but as far as protecting David Carr, I don't know. They haven't really been all that good at it. So I think they should get some pressure on them and maybe create some turnovers for get the offense the ball, and I think they'll be able to win this game. It's only one; they're getting 1.5 points, so it's basically a coin flip game. And I think being at home, playing in the early slot, will help them out in this game. So for my second pick, give me the New Orleans Saints plus 1.5. So my third pick is the New England Patriots minus 2.5. Going over to New Jersey to take on the New York Jets. Could the Jets stock be any higher right now? I mean, they're like, some of their fans are getting ready to buy tickets to Glendale, to go to the Super Bowl. Like they're ready to already, put them in the AFC Championship game. And it's like, pump the brakes here. As much as I like what they're doing with the Jets, they have played lesser competition in this win streak that they've been on, and they suffered some serious injuries with Breece Hall and then one of their key offensive linemen both getting lost for the season in that game, the last game. So even though they've picked up James Robinson, I don't know if he's going to be as effective as what Breece Hall was. And now you're going up against the New England Patriots defense that I think Bill Belichick's going to have them ready after what happened on Monday night. He's not the type of coach that gets embarrassed and takes that, sitting down. He usually uses that as a reason to really get after his team and get on them in practice and have them ready for the next game. He doesn't typically lose back-to-back games, so betting against Bill Belichick off a blowout loss just doesn't seem like a very good idea. And even though it looked kind of tough in that game against Chicago, Chicago Bears, they got, I think, 3 interceptions in that game, and at least 2 of them could have definitely gone the other way if not for great plays by the defense. And then Justin Fields had three fumbles in that game and recovered all three of them. So, I mean, that could have certainly swung the game for New England. And in the end, I just think with Bill Belichick, I can't go against him. Off a loss like that. I just have faith that he'll have his team ready to play. And as good as the Jets have looked in their last few games, I just think this is the game where things come back to reality. And they have to go back to the drawing board and see what they can do moving forward. But I just think that Bill Belichick, I just can't bet against him. So for my third pick, give me the New England Patriots minus 2.5. So the fourth game that I like is the Jacksonville Jaguars minus 2.5 taking on the Denver Broncos. This game's being played in London, but Jacksonville is basically the home team for London as they've played more games there than anybody else in the NFL. And I just think that they're probably the most comfortable organization when it comes to traveling and preparing for the London game. And Nathaniel Hackett's never been the head coach of a team that had to go to London, so I think there's a disadvantage there. I also don't think Russell Wilson is actually being honest about the severity of his injury. I think his leg is probably worse than it actually is, but he wants to get out there and play because that's just the type of player that he is. And plus his team has been losing, so he wants to show that he's worth the money that they spent on him. But I don't think he's going to be nearly as mobile as he's been in the games prior, and that could really be a disadvantage for this Denver offense. I don't know where the points are going to come from anyway, and now with him hurt, it could hurt it even worse. They're starting Melvin Gordon for whatever reason. Why? Because he was pouting on the sideline and the coach feels like he owes it to him. I don't know. Latavius Murray was actually playing okay. But again, I don't know where the points are going to come from for Denver. Other than Cortland Sutton, their wide receiver, they really don't have much of a passing game. And I just think Jacksonville's defense will be able to hold down this Denver offense. Denver's defense is pretty good also, but Jacksonville's got plenty of players to move the ball down the field. I mean, they were a turnover in the last game against the Giants down in the red zone really cost them, and then obviously turning down the field goal was not a great decision by Doug Peterson, and they still almost won the game moving the ball down to the 1 yard line on the final play. But I've gotten burned twice with Jacksonville this season in the contest, but I still believe in this team. I don't see anything positive with this Denver Broncos offense. Their defense is the only thing keeping them in games, and now I think they're going to be going up against another strong defense in Jacksonville, and hopefully Doug Peterson will make better decisions with his offense. When they have opportunities to score, I hope he takes the points. And again, Jacksonville has an advantage because they're so comfortable with going over and playing in London that I just think that that's going to be the piece that they need to push them over the top. And this game is only minus 2.5, so it's under a field goal. So I like where the spread is in this game, and I just like Jacksonville. I picked them to win the conference, so I got to go with this team. So for my fourth pick, give me the Jacksonville Jaguars, minus 2.5. So for my fifth and final game, I'm going with the Seattle Seahawks, minus 3 at home, taking on the New York Giants. Now, I got burned by the Giants last week, but I'm fading them again this week because I just don't think this luck is going to keep going in their favor over and over again every week. And with the Giants, they've really traveled quite a bit in the last few months. I think it could finally catch up with them and maybe show a little bit of the strain of the travel. They've gone from New York to London, back to New York, then to Jacksonville, and now they're playing in Seattle. So they're playing back-to-back road games, and they've got to go out to the West Coast to play the Seahawks. And I think it's just another factor in this game that could really go against the Giants. They finally started suffering some injuries. They lost Evan Neal, their rookie offensive lineman. They also lost Bellinger, their rookie tight end, who's been contributing. So those are two blows to the offense that could really hurt them against the Seahawks team. And I like Seattle's offense. DK Metcalf's banged up. He may not play in this game, but I like what I saw from their rookie running back, Walker III. They still got Lockett. They've still got both of their tight ends. And then Goodwin last week really showed out in that game with his opportunities when DK Metcalf went out of the game. So I like what Geno Smith's doing on offense. I think they'll be able to put up some points in this game. And then Seattle's defense is really starting to mature as they get more playing time. They've got a young secondary, and Pete Carroll's done this before with the famous Legion of Boom, where they've got a bunch of young, hungry players, and they're good. They're raw, and they have to be taught how to play in the NFL. And that's something that Pete Carroll's always been good at, all the way back to his time at USC. So I just think that he's finally getting this defense to play better than they did earlier in the season. So some of these numbers that they have on the season are kind of misleading because of that early struggles that they have. And I just really think that they're going to be able to hold down this Giants offense enough that they won't be able to score points and keep it so close that they can steal it in the fourth quarter the way they have in these this run of wins that they've got going on. So I think playing in Seattle, that's always going to be a disadvantage to the road team because they are one of the few stadiums that has a true home field advantage with that crowd and that noise that they can create in that stadium. And I really think they're going to be hyped up for this game. This is the only game of the week with two teams with winning records. And the Seattle Seahawks are actually in first place in the NFC West. So they've really, the crowd will really be into this game. They're going to show up. They always do, but they'll really be energized for this one. And I just like this to be the end of this magical ride that the New York Giants have been on. They'll finally have to take an L, and Dable will probably have them playing well again. But I just think that again, all the travel, everything that's been going on, all the breaks that have gone their way to get to this point where they are in the season, I think is finally going to come to an end. So I'm taking the Seattle Seahawks -3. So those are my 5 picks for Week 8 of the NFL season. Be sure to head on over to deadmoneymedia.com so you can subscribe to the email. Also, you can stop off and pick up some swag. We've got some new pillows for sale. Help support the channel. And don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. But now, it's the NFL Contest Show Parlay for Week 8. It's the Minnesota Vikings -3.5. The New Orleans Saints money line +105. The New England Patriots money line -140. The Jacksonville Jaguars money line -140. And the Seattle Seahawks -3. Put those 5 games in a parlay and it comes out to +2,100. So it'll be a nice payday considering we're getting some long odds with the 2 money lines. I'd rather take for New England and Jacksonville than take the -2.5 in this parlay. Well, that's it for Week 8. I hope everybody's having a successful season. I hope everybody's making a lot of money out there. If you're going out for Halloween, be safe, enjoy the games, let's make a lot of money, and thanks for watching.